fishing, it's in my soul.
Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
So one of the top questions I get from people who listen to this podcast and any of the conversations we've had about mission and purpose and why, and anyone who's read my book, Fishing for Happiness, the question is always, hey, I feel like I'm on the right page, but I'm really having trouble like truly defining my mission, especially when it comes to like a one line like mission statement, like why we exist or why you exist or why your company exists, why you feel like you're waking up every morning. And what I'm about to share with you in this podcast is something that helped me out tremendously, and it's kind of separating the why, if you will, like the deep down core desire of why you exist, and tying that in with an actual mission statement. If you go through this very, very simple, really 5 or 7 step, as you'll see, kind of process, it will make defining that mission so much easier once you know what your true why is. And you'll understand exactly what I mean once you go through this one. Enjoy. Hello, Salt Strong Nation. Joe Simons, like diamonds, back again. This is going to be a powerful one. 5 easy steps to discover your purpose in life, your why, your mission, the reason that you get up, your ikigai if you're from Japan. This is the reason that you live, the reason you exist. If you've listened to some of the past Unchurched podcasts, you know that I truly believe every single one of us, including you listening right here, there's a reason you're listening here to this today, that God put you here for a reason, for a purpose, in this exact period of time, on this exact day. I mean, that should give you goosebumps and make you feel good that you're here for a specific reason, that if you do believe in a God, and you do believe that God doesn't make mistakes, that you are here, right here today, listening to this for a very specific reason. And I think that's pretty exciting. And I want to share with you really a simple formula, if you will. It's really just a series of short questions that will help you define your why, that will help you get lots of clarity on exactly why you're living, like what you live for, what gets you excited, what your purpose is. And I've read this in a couple different of books. As you know, on my last couple podcasts, I've been talking about books I'm reading, and it's called The 5 Whys. And I'm going to take it a next level in this Millionaire Success Habits from Dean Graziosi, where he talks about the 7 whys. He takes it 2 more levels deep, and I'm going to read his story to you. It is amazing. Like I got teary-eyed just reading it, and hopefully I don't get teary-eyed reading it to you. But really, the 5 whys help you find and understand your purpose or the reason, if you will. And usually that last answer that you give to why is really when you get emotional, and when you feel that emotion, when you feel yourself, getting, it could be teary-eyed or goosebumps or just that feeling of like, oh, this is it. That's when you know you finally have your why. And usually it's some kind of core driver along family or community or your nation or religion or race, gender, some kind of identifiable group or an idea or a cause. And it's amazing that this kind of 5 whys works like 100% of the time. It literally works every single time. And so I'm going to dig in. This is called Millionaire Success Habits by Dean Graziosi. And this is just one chapter in the book. And it's in the very beginning. And there's a reason for it. He says, without knowing your why and your purpose, none of the other stuff really matters as much. And it took me a long time to kind of get this, and I think that's why so many people, probably the vast majority of people in America and in the world, are kind of a little bit lost and feel like they don't have as much hope and maybe don't have the fulfillment that they thought they'd have at this time in your life. I mean, does that sound familiar? I know it's been something I struggled with for a really long time until I started reading books like this and going through these kind of really easy things to do. And this one actually, it helps if you have two people, but you can do this by yourself to start. When two people kind of get together and do this, and you have someone really putting you to the against the wall and making you answer stuff, a lot of truth starts coming out. But he calls it going 7 levels deep. And so Dean Graziosi, if you don't know who this is, I mean, this guy, I don't know if he's a billionaire yet, but he's probably pretty darn close. If he's not, I know he's sold billions and billions of dollars of things on TV and online, and a really highly paid consultant and real estate guru, et cetera. And he hired a consultant named Joe Stump to really take his game up a level. And he tells the story here. I won't say everything, but he hires this guy who's a highly paid dude, and the guy comes in, and it doesn't really like say much in the beginning, and he's just kind of like listening to people, and he finally says, Dean, I want you to go through this whole experience first, this 7 levels deep experience. And so Joe now. Dean now has like people with him. He actually has students with him who are supposed to be learning. And now this guy, this highly paid consultant who he's brought in to teach them all some strategies for success and wealth, is now putting him on the spot in front of everyone. And so he says, Dean, I want you to go 7 levels deep and let your students see what this looks like. And says, okay, cool. No big deal. This guy, Dean, is used to being on TV and doesn't really get frazzled by stuff. And so he's thinking, oh, this is just going to be easy. And he knows exactly why he's waking up every morning, et cetera. So here's the first question. He says, I asked you why you wanted me here earlier, and you basically said because you wanted to get your clients, your readers, and your customers more engaged so you can help change their lives for the better even more than you have. And I think that's a great answer, Dean. Very noble, but let me ask you this. Why is it important to you to get more of your students engaged, to understand more, to overcome obstacles, to take action, to see the next level of life? So the first question that Dean didn't even know he was kind of going down this 7 levels deep was, why do you want me here? So the first question was literally, why do you want me here? And Dean had replied, because, I want to take my students to the next level, et cetera. So this is Dean now saying, I remember thinking about this for a second and answering, well, because so many people get stuck in the routine of mediocrity, and I know I'm giving them good strategies, but not all of them are using them. And I don't want to be the sales or the infomercial guy who just sold them a book. I want to be the person who opened their eyes to a new way of life by using what I've discovered. And at the end of the day, I want to create a legacy that my family can be proud of. So Joe responded, well, that's great stuff. Now, I first asked you why you hired me, and you said it was to help your students get more engaged. And then when I asked you why that was important, you basically said you wanted to leave a legacy for your family. And both are great reasons and great answers. But Dean, why is it important for you to create a legacy? Now, this is the third question, right? This is now him digging a little bit deeper. It's like peeling layers of an onion. And now I'm going back to Dean. So Dean's like, I remember thinking for a second and saying, because in this business, a lot of people write crap and they teach crap, and I want to set a new standard. I want to set a standard so high that others in the industry will either step up or step out. And don't get me wrong, I love the great people in this industry. Some of my dearest friends like Tony Robbins and Wayne Dyer and Eckhart Tolle and Brendan Burchard and David Bach and many others who have had a huge positive impact on my life and millions of others to this type of industry. I wouldn't be the man I am without those and other incredible influences. But we all know there's a ton of crap out there. And I want those people to either raise their standards or get out. And as I was sharing this, I wasn't even sure where the answers were coming from, but I was digging deeper and deeper into my why. And then Joe said to me, Dean, that's wonderful. I asked you why you hired me, and you said to get deeper and to help your students more. I asked you why that was important, and you said you wanted to create a legacy that you and your family can be proud of. And then I asked you why that was important, and you said you want to have the standards raised in this industry. All those are great answers. Now, what I didn't realize at the time was that while, yes, these were all good and true answers, they came from my head. And then Joe asked me the same question a couple more times, and I continued to give him answers from my head. They were all well thought out, but I wasn't even close to the real why. When there were 3 levels left to go, he said, why is that important? To my previous answer that I'd now forgotten. What came out of my mouth next shocked even me. I said, I never want to go backwards. And all of a sudden, boom, I got really emotional. Think about that. So he's now asked all these questions. It started off was, why did you want me here? And he's talking about his students. And then it went to legacy. And then all of a sudden, boom, I never want to go backwards. Now we're getting down a little bit closer to the truth. Can you see yourself doing a little bit of this? Can you see yourself asking, why you're doing what you're doing right now? Why you have this job? Why you're passionate about whatever it is? Regardless if you have a job or if this is more about something you're doing is a give back, or if it's just the reason you wake up in the morning for your kids, your family, etc., it is really interesting when you get down to that fourth level, what comes out of your mouth if you're really being honest with yourself, which is obviously critical. I'm going to keep reading here. With hindsight, I realized the most important thing happens when you ask yourself why 7 times is that you switch from answers coming from your head to pulling the answers from your heart and your soul. My heart was speaking and I could feel it. I remember started sitting differently. I was speaking with a different tone because physically my body started to feel different. This is right after he answered this. I was working hard to stop the tears from streaming out of my eyes because all my staff was watching. Then Joe, who I just met for the first time, was staring directly into my eyes, only a foot away. He asked, "Why is it important that you don't want to go backwards?" Boom. So we're not done yet. So Dean thinks he's done. Dean thinks that's his why. He's like feeling good. He's like he said, he's speaking differently. He's feeling differently. His physique is different. And we're not even done yet. And so all of a sudden, I'm just going to keep reading because this is so good. It says, and here's what I meant, and here's what my heart was trying to express. I know what it's like to be broke and to grow up with no money. I know what it's like to wear hand-me-downs. I know what it's like not having food in the refrigerator. I know what it's like to basically be homeless as a kid because I experienced it with my dad. I remember when I was 11 years old, I moved in with my dad, and we literally lived and slept in a small bathroom inside a house my dad was trying to fix up. Because there was no heat anywhere and the bathroom was the smallest room to keep warm, that's where we slept. And growing up in upstate New York, we had some brutal winters. We had an electric heater and took the doorknob out of the bathroom door and put the cord through the hole. We plugged in the electric heater and dragged in a small mattress and slept on that together. I'd get a ride to school in a car that had no heat and with doors tied on by rope. I remember making my dad drop me off down the street so no one would see just how poor I was. I was in a steady state of feeling insecure and feeling inadequate, and that was a place I never wanted to return. Wow, that's powerful. And this is my story, and I'm not suggesting that you or others haven't had it worse, but I remember my mom struggling before I helped her retire. I remember my dad always struggling before I helped him retire. I remember what it felt like not to be able to help other people or even myself. And I know for a fact that I don't want to ever go backwards to where I was as a kid. And after I explained all of this, Joe could see that I was getting emotional. And at the time, I was thinking to myself, wow, I found my why. We're done. But there were 2 more questions left for me to answer. And Joe looked at me and asked, Dean, why don't you want to go backwards? And at that point, I couldn't hold the tears back. They were streaming down my face. The first thing that came to my heart were my children. I said, I think I know it. I think I know my why. I want to give my kids the choices and the options that I never had when I was a kid. I want my daughter and my son to be able to choose where they want to go in life with, and have the ability to become their best selves. I want them to have lives without the worry of money choking them like I did. I want them to know I want them to know that they're financially secure, so if they want to be teachers or astronauts or be in rock bands or yoga teachers or anything else, they can. I want them to have the freedom I never felt like when I had growing up. I'm not saying I want to raise 2 entitled brats. I work very hard to make sure that never happens. I'm talking about choices to be who they want to be, not spoiling them so they don't have to make any choices at all. And the more I thought about it, the more emotional I got. I said to Joe, I know my why. It's my children. But then he said to me, I bet you started working really hard before you had children, didn't you, Dean? And he was right. I had one more why left to answer. Dean, he said, thank you for sharing this, but I have to ask you, why is it important that your children have choices? And my true why emerged like a miracle. It just flew out of my mouth. I said, because I want to be in control. I'm going to repeat that. Because I want to be in control. Before that moment, I had never thought or talked about my wanting to be in control. And I never felt that surge of passion run through me to my core. I realized at that very moment that my whole life was about. It was about control. I'd finally realized why I wanted to go to the next level, why I got into business, why I started cutting firewood and fixing wrecked cars when I was a teenager, why I knocked on 1 million doors and did my first real estate deal before I was 20. It all made sense now. It was all because I wanted to be in control. Not a control freak, but rather in control. You see, my parents were married 9 times between them. In fact, as I write this book, my dad is engaged to a great lady and will soon be an even 10. Also, growing up, I moved a lot. I moved 20 times by the time I was 19 years old. Over the years of my childhood, I would have new stepbrothers, stepsisters, and step-grandparents that I loved, and then I'd be uprooted and have to move without any say in the matter. I always felt totally out of control. We would find an apartment I loved, couldn't pay the rent, and we would get evicted. I'd move into my grandma's house and love it, and then within the year, I'd have to move and go someplace else with a new dad or a new mom and new siblings that in some cases hated me for intruding. I would move to a new school, find new friends, and then we'd pick up and have to relocate again. It was an epiphany, the seventh why. I don't want anyone to tell me how to dress, where to live, or even how to raise my kids. I don't want anyone to tell me where I can eat, how I can function, what I can do with my time, or how much money I can make. I want to be in control so that I can make the decisions that empower me, bring me joy, and make me feel alive. And at that very moment, I realized I didn't want anyone to take that away from me in any area of my life. I had finally found my true why, and my mission never seemed clear. So what's your deeper why? What do you think it is? I mean, based on that, isn't that crazy? I would encourage you to do this practice. You start it off by yourself if you're uncomfortable having someone ask it to you, but I really believe the most powerful thing that you can do is have a loved one, or maybe even just some random third party like he did. He just met this guy, Joe, and have him ask you those questions and make them start making you dig a little bit deeper into why. I'm telling you, I've gone through this personally. Maybe on a future podcast, I'll kind of share you all mine. It gets emotional as well. But when you do this and you kind of peel back these layers of why you exist, it just becomes clearer and clearer. And all of a sudden, just like what happened with Dean, it will go from your head to emotion, to your heart, and to your soul really quickly. And that's when you know you're getting close. And if you dig just a little bit deeper, so many people stop at 5. If you go down a little bit deeper, you're going to realize really quickly why you get up, why you exist, what really is the main driver. And once you have that, it makes everything else make sense on why you act a certain way, why you do certain things, and really what your ultimate purpose is in life. So I hope this helps. I hope this gives you guys a little bit of clarity. I hope it's something that you'll do and you'll use. I know it brought not just clarity to me, but I use the word control. It kind of brought more control in my life, right? I think that's something that we all crave as well, regardless if your answer is just like his, but we all want a little bit more control. And when I knew, why I was acting a certain way and really why I was built the way I was and why God gave me certain gifts, it all made a little bit more sense. So I urge you to do that. Go 5 layers deep if you can, 7 layers deep if you're still not there. Some of you, it might only take 5, and that's why a lot of these books talk about going, asking why 5 times. And that was all started from Mr. Toyota himself, like the man who invented the company Toyota. He would always ask his employees and anyone on his workforce to, and ask them why 5 times, like, well, why are we doing this? Or why can't we do this with this car? And just keep digging down deeper to really get to the root of the problem. So it makes it a whole lot easier to solve. It makes your life a lot easier to solve when you really know that root cause that's driving you every single day. So do it. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear, once you go through this, kind of what you discover about yourself. And if you have questions on it, let me know. This book is called Millionaire Success Habits by Dean. Graziosi. Great book. I've read it twice now. And once again, this is just one small chapter in the, a 230 page book, and so worth it. And it's the foundation of this entire book. And this is what he teaches to his students who are trying to excel in life with, success, which, could be money. It could be fortune. It could be just having freedom, flexibility, better family life, whatever it means to you. He talks all about that. It's the gateway to wealth and prosperity is the subtitle of that book. Amazing, amazing book. Anyhow, I encourage you to do it. I'd love to hear from you. My email, joe@saltstrong.com. Hit me up. Let me know if you're enjoying these podcasts. Let me know any other topics, or if you have any favorite ones that we've done in the past, from the anxiety to happiness, to questions about God and faith. Let me know. I usually try to tackle things that I'm either struggling with or are on my mind. A lot of these are for me just as much as you, and I am going to work on having some new guests soon. I know these past few ones have been just you and me, but it's been fun. It's been fun for me to get some of this off my chest and speak through some of it. It helps me as a person. Hopefully just as much as it does you. So guys, love you. Thank you so much for all the support. If I can do anything for you, hit me up. If I can pray for you, let me know. joe@saltstrong.com. Otherwise, I'll talk to you on the next episode. Peace.
'Cause fishing, it's in my soul.